Scientists discovered images from the year 1950 in which 9 star-like objects flashed out within half an hour. All 9 of them were in a small region of the space, indicating that this was caused by some kind of a solar reflection of something artificially made. However, the problem is that these images are from the year 1950, while the first satellite Sputnik was launched in 1957. Beatrice Villarroel, an astrophysicist in the Nordic Institute of Theoretical Physics in Sweden, published a scientific paper together with her colleagues on this anomaly. The paper faced challenges during the review process due to stress among referees, and a number of astronomers overlooked the fact that there were no human satellites in the 1950s. Let's see what the study suggests. The study explores possible explanations for these transients, such as flaring dwarf stars, fast radio bursts, gamma-ray bursts, or micro-lensing events, but none of them seems to match the observed properties. The study suggests two possible scenarios. Either the plate was somehow contaminated by something that produced point sources with varying intensities, or the sources were actually fast solar reflections from objects near geosynchronous orbits. The study also proposes ways to test this hypothesis by looking for similar events on other plates or images. It also demonstrates the value of using archival data to search for rare or exotic transients that might have been missed by previous surveys. The study invites further investigation and collaborating among astronomers to solve this intriguing puzzle. Nowadays, due to the large number of satellites in our sky, it's becoming increasingly challenging. Therefore, it's important to find the right approach to exclude the currently known satellites or utilize old photos, such as those from the 1950s when satellites were not present in Earth's orbit. Beatrice, together with her colleague Hichem Gergori, made an artistic recreation of the objects in a 3D program to determine what shapes and materials could theoretically create the observed flashes. And here are some of the possible shapes. Now here begins my speculation. The question is, are these crafts from a previous advanced civilization or are they of extraterrestrial origin? One of the recreations reminds me of the Vimanas described in the ancient Vedic texts. Take a look at the resemblance of these shapes. On the right is the Rukma Vimana described in the old Vedic text and the Mahabharata epic, while this one to me looks like the UFO photographed in the Calvin area. This is the recently released photo, the case is still classified. This spherical shape could potentially represent the UAP spheres that have been observed throughout recorded human history, ranging from ancient times to the Second World War and continuing to the present day. This is an important topic for me because I had
all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh. Ba'asham Yahweh Ba'asham Rachakwadash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of the great millstone, and salutation to all you sincere Akian. And once again, this is your brother Bawan back again with a new video. And from what you have seen, from what you have heard, the chariots of the Most High Yahweh Ba'asham Yahweh have made themselves known, once again, and this is mainly in the past. Okay, so you know, take the video that you just watched with a grain of salt, okay? Because I tried to confirm the information that was put in that video, but I could not find anything on it. But ultimately, there is a very large possibility that it is still true, because we do know that the chariots of the Heavenly Father are out there, and they are watching, and they are circling the earth, and they are all around the earth, okay? Even though you might not be able to see them, because most of the times they are in their cloaking, or they are cloaked, invisible. So it is very possible that, even all the way going back to the 1950s, right? You saw Edom, the so-called red man ruling over the earth. They knew the chariots had been watching, right? So this is the book of Psalms 104, verse 1. Bless Yahweh, O my soul, O Yahweh, my power. Thou art very great. Thou art clothed with honor and majesty. Who coverest thyself with light as with a garment, who stretchest out the heavens like a curtain, who layeth the beams of his chambers in the waters, who maketh the clouds his chariot, who walketh upon the wings of the wind. And you can see, and you really think about it, this is, of course, going into the chariot of the Most High, Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. In other words, the so-called UFOs and UAPs, but what they really are for the most part, because there are many, because not every single UFO or UAP is actually a chariot. There are solar flare, flares, and different things like that. So anyway, as I was saying, these are mainly the chariots, right? The chariots of the Most High, Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. In other words, the salvation of our people. And it's just a continual reminder because, going back 2 years ago, 3 years ago, you had the UFOs, right? The chariots being a complete conspiracy theory. Nobody believed in it until the government came out and started declassifying all that information and showing that, these chariots are real and they have been following aircrafts, right? There have been sightings over and over and over again, not just from people taking low quality cameras, the low quality shots from bad angles, but you have military, right? Air Force, okay? So the Air Force, right, when they are doing their drills and flying in the air and all that, they are seeing these chariots, they are seeing these chariots, and they are basically having the characteristics of of the chariots. They are not any aircraft that can be built by humans, right? And by human hands, far more technologically advanced than anything that Esau Edom has currently. And that's how you know that those are the chariots, because of the characteristics that it has, right? But anyway, continuing on, we see that these chariots are always out there. Sometimes, you can actually see what they are, right? Or sometimes you can't at all. Okay, they are hidden, they are closed. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say it in so many words, but sometimes they are hidden. Sometimes you can actually see what they are, which is those UFO sightings. You see the lights that are moving and darting around, right, doing all kinds of maneuvers. Okay, Exodus 13 verse 21. And Yahweh went before them by day in a pillar of a cloud to lead them the way, and by night in a pillar of fire to give them light to go by day and night. And this is speaking about when our people were wandering through the wilderness of, or basically just the wilderness, because they were going through from Egypt to Israel. And so while our people were going through that journey, the Most High Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, sent his chariot. The spirit of Yahweh Hashem Yahushua was on that chariot. Well, he sent his chariot to be a guide for our people, a pillar of cloud by night, and of course a pillar of fire. It's like a pillar of a cloud by the day, and of course a pillar of fire by the night. This is how these chariots usually appear. That's why that's why all these UFO sightings are mainly in the night, because in the day, the chariots are disguised as clouds. So that's why I brought out that first preset to make it the clouds his chariots. So these clouds you see in the sky, sometimes you always see some weirdly shaped clouds, okay, or something, or even clouds that don't even, clouds that have a weird shape, have different movements than all the other clouds that are in the sky, and those could be chariots, man. If the times that they are actually revealing themselves, because it's all, what's I'm talking a little too much. Let me just get some presets, okay? And the point I wanted to bring out is this: you have chariots that are all over orbits all over in the, all over orbits that are organized in outer space. That's exactly what he was talking about. And I also wanted to get this as well, artificial satellites, because that's a thing of itself, basically orbiting the earth, right? So let me get that. Artificial satellite, and that's the definition as you want to bring out. I think that should be yes, here it is. Or is it this one? Hold on. Okay, let me just use this one. Artificial satellites. And basically what it is, well, of course, the chariots aren't artificial since they were made by the Most High Yahweh Shai, so they'll be natural. But just to have an idea of what they mean by artificial chariots, okay, as well as like, yeah, artificial satellites. An artificial satellite is an object that people have made and launched into orbit using rockets. There are currently over 3,000 active satellites orbiting the Earth. The size, altitude, and design of a artificial satellite depends on its purpose. And all these satellites will be destroyed, and we will be destroyed and thrown back down into the earth in the day of the Most High Yahweh Hashem Yahushua is coming. Okay, but that's not the main point. The main point is, so I can understand what the video meant by artificial satellites, basically man-made or not naturally formed, right? Or right, and they, because you saw it on, they are attributing these satellites, okay, we just put on code because it's so called, you already know what they actually are or what they could be. Once again, take the contents of that video with a grain of salt. It could be true, but ultimately it could also not be. So they already know what, or rather we already know what it is. It is, or it could be, the chariots of the Heavenly Father, the Most High Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, which are not aliens, okay, they are extraterrestrial, right? Are saying that they do that they do not have earthly bodies, but they are not aliens. And when I say that meaning little green men from Mars, like Esau Edom would have you believe. That's the devil right there for you. He would sooner have you believe that they are, you know, alien little green on inhuman creatures in from another planet than the chariots of the Heavenly Father being driven by the angels, even though the scriptures clearly show you that. But this is the book of Isaiah 31, verse 5. As birds flying, so will Yahweh of hosts defend Jerusalem. Defending also, he will deliver it. Passing over, he will preserve it. And that's of course again going into the chariots. And right now they are just at rest, basically watching everything that is going on the earth. Let me also get that as well. That's I think it's the eyes of the Lord. I forgot how that precept goes. But another one, the chairs are the most high, 1,000, even thousands of angels, right? Let me just get that one. Yeah, here it is. So as Psalm 68 verse 17, the chariots of Yahweh are the chariots of the Most High are 20,000, even thousands of angels. Yahweh is among them as in Sinai in the holy place. So now let me jump to the next precept, going into these chariots, because yeah, okay, yeah. And also let me jump into the next precept going into these chariots, okay, because now you see even more clearly, and of course you already know this, but it's nice to always be it's nice to see it's nice to hear it over and over again. It's nice to see or be reminded of it, at the chariots of the Most High Yahweh Hashem Yahushua are out there watching, and they are with they are watching, and they are, I want to say, with with our people anyway, seeing all the things that are, I'm recording all the things that are going on the earth. But mainly, the chariots are out there and they are always active anyway. This is the book of Ezekiel 10 verse 1. Then I looked, and behold, in the firmament that was above the head of the cherubims, there appeared over them as it were a sapphire stone, as the appearance of the likeness of a throne. And he spake unto the man clothed with linen, and said, Go in between the wheels, even under the cherub, and fill thine hand with coals of fire from between the cherubims and scattered them over the city. And he went in my sight. And this is of course Ezekiel seeing a vision of the chariots. Okay, I think that starts from Ezekiel the 9th chapter. Let me just continue from here because this is the main one going into the chariots. So Ezekiel 10 verse 4, then the glory of Yahweh went up from the cherub and stood over the threshold of the house. And the house was filled with the cloud, and the court was full of the brightness of Yahweh's glory. And the sound of the cherubim's wing was heard, even to the outer court, as the voice of the Almighty power when he speaketh. And it came to pass that when he had commanded the man clothed with linen, saying, take fire from between the wheels, from between the cherubims, then he went in and stood beside the wheels. And one cherub stretched forth his hand from between the cherubims unto the fire that was between the cherubims, and took thereof, and put it into the hands of him that was clothed with linen, who took it and went out. And there appeared in the cherubims the form of a man's hand under the wings. And I let me try to see what I can find. Okay, yeah, it is Ezekiel 10 verse 9. So like, yeah, this is actually where I should have started from. Ezekiel 10 verse 9. And when I looked, behold, the four wheels by the cherubims, one wheel was one wheel by one cherub, and another wheel by another cherub, and the appearance of the wheel was as the color of beryl stone. And as for their appearances, they four had one likeness, as if a wheel had been in the midst of a wheel. When they went upon the four sides. They turned not as they went, but to the place whither the head looked, they followed it. They turned not as they went. And this is, of course, describing the chariot. And what he's describing is, the saucer, right? The wheel upon the wheel is basically, the ring part. Yeah, that's it. The ring part of the saucer, and the chariots even do this as well. Basically, being able to maneuver in ways that no aircraft that has been created can maneuver in. No, I don't know if Esau's aircraft can maneuver the way the chariots can. Just to hover in space, to rapidly change directions and do all manner of things like that. Okay, continuing on. Yeah. Continuing on. Now Ezekiel 10 verse 12. And their whole body and their backs and their hands and their wings and the wheels were full of eyes round about, even the wheels that they four had. Okay, and these eyes actually represent the lights of the chariots, because you always see those lights in the sky, and even airplanes have the same thing too. Okay, those aren't actual eyes, because right now what you have is Esau Edom in his wickedness once again. What's it called? Hokelga or Zelt guys. I think it's Hokelga. They have this depiction of modern angels, quote unquote, through it as interpreted by this Ezekiel 10. And basically you have these I don't even know what to call them, but basically these creatures that look nothing like what the scriptures describe. At the end of the day, when the scriptures are talking about angels, here it's talking about the chariots, because the chariots of the Most High are, are the angels as well, because the spirit of those angels and the spirit of the Most High Yahweh Shai are in those chariots. You have some places in the scriptures where the chariots are actually called, or the chariots are actually the Most High, or rather the chariots are actually called as the Most High. Like for example, where I read for you in Exodus, when the Most High Yahweh Shai appeared as a pillar of light by day and a pillar of the cloud, a pillar of like I'm always confusing this thing. The Most High appeared as a pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of by night, and a pillar of fire by night. That was that was a chariot, right? But the spirit of the Most High Yahweh Hashem Yahushua was in the chariot, and the spirit of the Most High Yahweh Hashem Yahushua is in this chariot that Ezekiel saw as well. So now Ezekiel 10 verse 13. As for the wheels, it was cried unto them, saying in my hearing, O wheel, and every one had four faces. The first face was the face of the cherub, the second face was the face of a man, the third face the face of a lion, and the fourth face the face of an eagle. And the cherubims are lifted up. This is the living creature that I saw by the river of Chebar, right? And basically what you saw in this, or what he saw by these faces represent, the windows, right? The windows, right? The windows of the chariot. You could actually see the pilots in the chariots, I know it did not have four different faces like they show in these modern angel depictions, right? That's not what that meant, These four faces, and I've forgotten what they represent, but basically they are representing, the characteristics of these angels, right? The face of the man representing wisdom, I believe. The face of the lion, bravery, eagle being flight, and things like that. So I've forgotten how it's actually described, so you have to bear with me on that, okay? So yeah, continuing on. And the cherubims are lifted up, and this is the living creature that I saw by the river of Chebar. Now Ezekiel 10 verse 16. And when the cherubims went, the wheels went by them. And when the cherubims lifted up their wings to mount up from the earth, the same wheels also turned not from beside them. Right. So basically these chariots, this isn't the normal flying rule, right? That is that pillar or cylindrical chariot that Ezekiel you saw in the book of I believe that is the fifth chapter. But this is a different type of chariot with a different type of design. As you can see, that most that different chariots have different designs, right? So when the chariots lifted up, the saucers, right? The wheels, the saucers, which are which Ezekiel is describing as wheels because they are circular. We're following it wherever it went. And I believe that this chariot is probably, one of those is seeing, this chariot is probably in the shape of an atom, right? Is a spherical chariot with rings around it, That's what I believe this chariot looks like, a giant atom or something like that. Ultimately, but it's just me speaking as a man, from the description that we're getting right here. But the point being that this is what the chariots appear as. They have different shapes, they come in different shapes and sizes, but ultimately it is all still the chariots of the Most High Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, and they are out there, they are watching, they are, present, okay, and they are the angels of the Most High Yahweh Hashem Yahushua and the deliverance of our people. So with that, I'll end the video right there. All praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Ba'asham Yahushai, Ba'asham Rakakwadash, Wa Abad Babal, unto the Spirit of you, Akim and you are edified. Shalom.